So walk me through this book and how much, I guess, Caitlin Clark's, was there any cooperation, any reach out to her at all, Christine, for this book?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. She
Great.
answered 40 to 50 questions
Awesome.
that I asked her. Yeah, she's great. She's better in person than you'd hope. Yeah, what happened was right around the time, actually, you and I spoke, which was the Olympic snub, which,
Yes.
by the way, is a chapter title in the book, and I have even more reporting on that abysmal decision, and I continue to report it. So there's breaking news within the book on that chapter alone.
On the Rich Eisen Show, Christine Brennan completely blasted the WNBA leadership when talking about her new Caitlin Clark's book. She didn't mince words when she described how the league utterly blew their chance, essentially shown that they weren't prepared for prime time. Her remarks are currently making ripples in the basketball media. Do you believe Christine Brennan was correct to criticize the WNBA's treatment of Caitlin Clark, or was she overly critical? Please share your opinions in the comments on her new book on Caitlin Clark. Christine Brennan
But within a few weeks, I was, just early July thinking, gosh, should I maybe do a book on this? I hadn't written a book in a long time, and this has become my 8th book. 4th was Scribner. Literally 54 weeks ago, there was no book. And now we're number 2 on the New York Times bestseller list. So, it shows what it shows, Rich, is the incredible power, appeal of this 20.
Appeared on the Rich Eisen Show, and allow me to explain, she really set the WNBA on fire in ways that will undoubtedly cause discomfort for some. This seasoned sports journalist who has covered women's sports for many years essentially explained how the league ruined the largest gift they have ever gotten. Let's first discuss the terrible nature of Brennan's criticism. This isn't just any blogger or social media influencer criticizing the WNBA. This is Christine Brennan, a columnist for USA Today who has spent more than 40 years advocating for coverage of women's sports. When most media outlets couldn't give a damn about women's basketball, she was in the trenches fighting for female athletes, and has been made fun of because, among other things, I would support coverage.
It wouldn't have been caught dead watching women's basketball when I would be on radio shows, or you and I might be talking at various things. Guys would laugh like, "You're not covering the women's Final Four, are you? Like, why would you go to the women's Olympic gold medal game at all the Olympics I cover? What a waste of time. It's not good basketball. It's below the rim. They're rolling around on the floor. It's jump balls." These are the things I heard. I was laughed at as I would advocate the coverage of women's basketball, among all the other things that I've been able to do, men's and women's, right? Sports. And honest to goodness, to see now those guys that would have been calling into sports talk shows around the country laughing, they're the guys now buying the number 22 jerseys. They're wearing them not only to games, but to the grocery store and the gas station. They are Caitlin Clark's biggest fans, and they are the reason that these TV
of women's basketball that I've managed to accomplish. Male and female specific sports. She's heard all the disparaging remarks about women's basketball being bad and below the rim. You would better listen when someone like him begins to criticize the WNBA's treatment of their biggest star. The stats that Brennan revealed on Rich Eisen's show are astounding and demonstrate how badly the WNBA handled this circumstance. She brought up the fact that the Indiana Fever had more fans at home on average last season than 5 NBA teams. Take a moment to process that information. Due to a single player, a WNBA club attracted more attention than several NBA teams. This is where things start to get really interesting, though. Brennan discussed how Caitlin Clark jerseys are now being purchased and worn everywhere by the same men who once made fun of women's basketball. They're the biggest admirers of Caitlin Clark, and it's because of them that these TV ratings are so high, are the cause of these extremely high TV ratings. Signifies a radical change.
Attendance last year, first year of Caitlin Clark, was higher than the average home attendance of 5 NBA teams. I cannot even believe I said that sentence, and I researched it, and it's in On Her Game. Point being, this has absolutely been a sea change, the likes of which I did not envision seeing in my career. That's how big a deal. And I chronicled the whole thing, and Caitlin answered every question, tough questions, looked you in the eye, goes on with answers, goes off on a tangent, comes back and finishes the answer. I mean, she's just a delight.
Change in culture for which the WNBA was wholly unprepared. For many years, women's basketball has had a hard time becoming popular. particularly with male sports enthusiasts. After Clark enters the scene, men who wouldn't normally watch women's basketball turn into ardent supporters. In the annals of women's professional sports, that is unprecedented. However, rather than seizing this once-in-a-lifetime chance, the WNBA appeared to be deliberately working against its own interests. The league was completely unprepared for the wave of attention that Clark brought from college, as Brennan's book makes clear. Brennan wrote during a conversation regarding Clark's influence with a WNBA official. What was I hearing in that WNBA official's voice? Not joy, not excitement, not expectation. No, there was another reason. It seems that there was also worry, an apprehension about how to manage their newfound fame. Consider how outdated that is. For almost 30 years, your league has battled for both financial security and relevancy. Additionally, they are concerned rather than thrilled when they eventually find a player who can address both issues. It's similar to winning the jackpot and worrying about having too much cash.
She likes Caitlin Clark. She gets it. At least I thought she got it. But when she did that, I mean, Shelton and Caitlin go back a long way because of Iowa and Ohio State through the Big Ten. And so, there's chippy play. And Caitlin Clark does not need me or you or anyone to defend her. Oh, she's not a victim. She gives it as good as she takes it. She's tough. She's strong. She's revving up the crowd. She loves it. And people love her for that. But when Marina Mabrey plowed into Caitlin Clark like a freight train, if that did not injure Caitlin Clark, as far as we know, although now she's had these 4 injuries, and the last time she missed a game was sophomore year of high school. So bizarre, absolutely bizarre what's happening. And so obviously disheartening for Caitlin Clark and so many of her fans. But when Marina Mabrey does that, you know who she's hurting at the end of the day? She's hurting Marina Mabrey and her earning potential. Because when Caitlin Clark is injured, the first time she was injured this year, Rich, she would miss 5 games. During those 5 games, when she disappeared, more than half of the viewership of the WNBA, not just the Fever, but the WNBA, more than half of the viewership also disappeared. That is falling off a cliff.
The WNBA has never seen attendance and viewership figures like those that Clark produces. However, this is Thethy League's most frightening aspect. Those figures virtually vanish as soon as Clark is hurt. Brennan noted that over half of the NBA's viewership disappeared, along with Clark when she missed games earlier this season. Tiger Woods would dip a little after he missed something or was eliminated from a major tournament, according to what I looked up. When he went to baseball, Michael Jordan faltered a bit. Over time, more than half of your TV audience simply vanishes. That is disastrous for the WNBA's financial prospects. Professional sports have never seen anything like this. Wrote this kind of influence on the viewership of their respective leagues was never experienced by even renowned players like Michael Jordan and Tiger Woods. Ratings would drop when they weren't there, but not nearly as much as when Clark isn't there. The fact that some of the physical play aimed against Clark appears to be detrimental to the league's own interests only serves to worsen the situation. Brennan explicitly criticized instances such as Marina Mabrey's attack on Clark, emphasizing that you are literally harming your own earning potential.
Tiger Woods, I looked it up. When he would be out of a major tournament or missing something, it would drop a little. Michael Jordan, when he went to baseball, dropped a little. Others over the years. Over half of your TV audience just disappears. That is devastating to the WNBA and to its financial future, and all those players with the CBA now up and they're having these negotiations. They need to realize sooner than later, not that you treat her like kid gloves, but that Caitlin is to them even more important than Tiger was to men's golf. Because men's golf had already had Arnie Jack, Byron Nelson, Sam Snead, going all the way back to Bobby Jones. It already had the commercials and the standing with
potential. When you harm the player who is responsible for half of your viewing, when you consider the monetary ramifications, they are astounding. Each and every game, the league lost millions of dollars as a result of Clark's absences due to lower ticket prices, product sales, and lost advertising revenue. However, some athletes appear more concerned with displaying their bodies than with keeping the golden goose safe. Here, Brennan's analogy to Tiger Woods is quite fitting. All the way back to Bobby Jones, Tiger Woods' golf has already produced Ari Jack, Byron Nelson, Sam Snead, and It already had the ads and the reputation in the sports world. That has never existed in the WNBA or our male-dominated sports industry. Many people overlook this important element. Prior to Tiger's arrival, golf was already a well-known sport. With a long history and strong financial prospects, the base was in place, but he took it to new heights. That was never the WNBA's foundation for decades. They have been vying for meager attention and financial gain. In the context of women's basketball, Clark stands for something quite different. She is doing more than merely enhancing an established league. She is the only one generating previously unheard of mainstream relevance that carries a great deal of responsibility. The WNBA has mostly fallen short of it. This issue is further complicated by the racial dynamics Brennan discusses in her book. She brings up Clark's race and the cold reception she received from some league members on a regular basis, raising the question of whether the WNBA wasn't prepared for the scrutiny when considering the reasons the league has trouble embracing their brightest player. It is impossible to overlook this difficult subject. Clark, a white straight player, enters a league with a sizable LGBTQ+ population. The WNBA is 74% black. The league should have been ready to handle the tension that would inevitably arise from that dynamic. Rather, there were instances where current players took cheap jabs. Senior players made disparaging remarks about Clark's influence, and there was a general belief that Clark needed to earn acceptance. Most cases that might be standard rookie treatment, but perhaps you should change your strategy if the rookie is the reason your television ratings have doubled. Brennan's book goes into great detail on the Olympic snub, which is yet another good illustration of how organizations overlooked Clark's special worth. Brennan is still looking into that appalling judgment and has more reporting on it. The decision-makers' lack of awareness of Clark's actual impact is demonstrated by the fact that the player who sparked an unparalleled interest in women's basketball was left off the Olympic squad. The most annoying thing about all of this is that had anyone been paying attention, the answers would have been clear. Clark's fame wasn't some enigmatic occurrence. It was obviously related to her playing style, her success in college, and her capacity to engage with fans. The league could have used that as the basis for marketing campaigns, developed narratives that welcomed the attention, and set up other players to profit from the limelight. They appear to purposefully avoid the spotlight instead, handling Clark's fame as something to control rather than to be praised. It's similar to whining about having to visit the bank to cash a winning lottery ticket. Brennan's comparison of Clark to other revolutionary athletes is enlightening. She says that when it comes to golf, Clark is a lot like Tiger Woods, correct? Where she is now seen by those who previously would not have watched the sport. However, in contrast to golf, which was already profitable when Tiger joined, the WNBA was in dire need of this kind of innovation. Brennan's discussion of media coverage is especially fascinating. She talks on how the most active basketball fans are now men who used to make fun of women's coverage. That signifies a significant change in the way that the general public views women's sports. However, there have been issues with the league's reaction to the increased media attention. They have frequently acted hostilely and defensively rather than welcoming the attention and leveraging it to further the sport. Brennan's involvement in the entire D.J. Carrington incident serves as an excellent illustration. The WNBA Players Association issued a lengthy statement demanding that Brennan's media credentials be withdrawn after she raised valid journalistic concerns over whether a hit on Clark was intentional. Such a reaction demonstrates a basic ignorance of the workings of professional sports. Players anticipate challenging inquiries regarding contentious plays in every other major league. Being a professional athlete involves that. The WNBA Players Association was ill-prepared for major league scrutiny, as seen by its attempt to muzzle a seasoned journalist for carrying out her duties. The fact that Brennan has consistently been one of the most vocal supporters of women's sports throughout her career only serves to highlight how absurd this is. Those are terrible blights on our culture that you have been fighting against for decades, Jake Tapper said. You had better know the facts if you're going to criticize someone who has fought for female athletes for 40 years. All of these mistakes have significant commercial ramifications. The WNBA has never had more chances for financial development thanks to Clark's popularity. Due to her presence, ticket prices, product sales, television contracts, and sponsorship, agreements have all skyrocketed. However, that development is brittle and reliant on Clark continuing to be active and healthy. That development is jeopardized by every dispute, every injury, and every indication that the league doesn't see her potential. Clark's recent injuries, which have prevented him from playing in several games this season, demonstrate how easily that momentum can be lost. Here, Brennan's assertion that Clark is more than just a basketball player is essential. She has transcended sports to become a cultural phenomenon. It is evident that her allure extends well beyond conventional basketball fans because men are wearing her jersey to grocery stores, professional sports. This type of crossover appeal is quite uncommon. The number of athletes who have attained this degree of cultural significance can be counted on one hand. Due to their preoccupation with internal politics and established power structures, the WNBA essentially squandered the opportunity they had. When you take into account the WNBA's past difficulties, the financial figures Brennan provides are astounding. Suddenly, a player whose presence can ensure sellouts and premium television ratings appears in a league that has never made a profit. That is the kind of change that sports leagues hope to see. However, the league appeared to view Clark's success as an annoyance, rather than focusing their entire marketing strategy on her and leveraging her fame to help other players. Without appreciating what made her unique, they sought to capitalize on her fame. It's also intriguing to consider the potential international comparison. Players with Clark's effect would be highly sought after by other women's sports leagues worldwide. The WNBA demonstrated a basic lack of leadership by having that and yet managing to stir up needless controversy. Brennan's remarks specifically criticized Commissioner Kathy Engelbert. Brennan observes that Engelbert finds it difficult to discuss Caitlin Clark, or that she will only mention Caitlin and Angel when questioned about Caitlin. She wasn't questioned about Angel, though. This type of divergence demonstrates an incapacity to identify and leverage your greatest strength. All of this is made much more pertinent by the ongoing CBA discussions, while they are deliberately undermining the one person most responsible for rising league revenue. Players are demanding better working conditions and more money. It's similar to workers criticizing the company's top salesperson while demanding raises. The saddest part of all of this is how professionally Clark herself has handled every situation. She has continued to play at a high level and represent the league well in spite of taking cheap shots, being cut from Team USA, and enduring ongoing controversy. She would never criticize someone or make excuses for herself, which is what makes her so brilliant, as former teammate Kate Martin said in Brennan's book. Despite being the ideal spokesperson for women's basketball, Clark has received little assistance from the league. All of these mistakes could have disastrous long-term effects on the WNBA. Clark won't be around for long, and there isn't much time to take advantage of her fame. The league runs the risk of losing the momentum that took decades to develop. If they keep viewing its top player as an issue to be solved rather than a prize to be honored. Anyone interested in women's basketball should take note of Brennan's book and media appearances. The WNBA has been given the keys to becoming a major force in society, but they must figure out how to operate the vehicle before it's too late. Christine Brennan just revealed how the WNBA missed the greatest chance in the history of women's sports. Anyone who wishes to comprehend this situation should read her critique of the league's leadership and treatment of Caitlin Clark. Brennan and the statistics are truthful.